My wife humiliated my disabled mother, until she found out whose name was on the deed. Welcome to Tales by Felix, where every story unlocks a new world. Remember to subscribe, like and share. Let's begin. The sun hung low over Ibikunle, casting a golden glow across the dusty paths and thatched roofs of the village. The air buzzed with anticipation as the community gathered in the open courtyard of the Adewale family compound. Children darted between adults, their laughter mingling with the rhythmic beat of a talking drum. Today was no ordinary day. Adewale, the village's pride, a brilliant engineer who had made a name for himself in Lagos, was returning with his new bride, Ifeoma. The compound was alive with color. Women in vibrant Ankara dresses fanned themselves under the shade of a sprawling mango tree, while men in crisp Agbada robes exchanged stories of Adewale's rise from their humble village to the glittering city. At the center of it all sat Mama Funk, Adewale's mother, in her weathered wheelchair. Her face, lined with years of resilience, held a quiet smile. Her hands, calloused from decades of labor, rested calmly in her lap, though her eyes flickered with a mix of pride and caution. The crowd erupted as a sleek black SUV rolled into the compound, kicking up clouds of red dust. Adewale stepped out, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the village's earthy tones. He waved, his grin wide and infectious, but all eyes quickly turned to the woman emerging from the passenger side. Ifeoma was a vision, tall, statuesque, her skin glowing under the sun. Her red designer dress hugged her curves, and her stilettos clicked confidently against the ground. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "She's from Lagos," one woman murmured. "City girl, eh? Too fine for this village," another chuckled, but her tone carried a hint of unease. Adewale guided Ifeoma toward Mama Funk, who sat at the heart of the gathering. "Mama," he said, his voice warm, "this is Ifeoma, my wife." Ifeoma's smile was polished, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of disdain as they swept over Mama Funk's simple wrapper and the worn wheelchair. "It's a pleasure," Ifeoma said, her voice smooth but laced with a city accent that felt out of place. She extended a manicured hand, but when Mama Funk reached to clasp it, Ifeoma withdrew slightly, as if the touch might soil her. Mama Funk's smile didn't waver. "Welcome to Ibikunle, my daughter," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of wisdom. "This is your home now." The crowd cheered, but Ifeoma's lips tightened. She scanned the compound, the mud brick walls, the chickens pecking at the dirt, the children staring at her with wide eyes. "It's quaint," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Adewale laughed, oblivious to the undercurrent. "You'll love it here, Ifeoma. The people, the air, it's real." Ifeoma's eyes lingered on Mama Funk, who met her gaze with an unreadable calm. That moment, capturing the subtle tension, the new bride's unveiled arrogance and the matriarch's quiet strength. The next evening, the Adewale household was a flurry of activity. The dining room, modest but warm with wooden furniture and colorful wall hangings, was set for a family dinner. Mama Funk had spent hours preparing a feast, steaming bowls of egusi soup, pounded yam, and roasted plantain, the aromas filling the air. Adewale sat at the head of the table, his tie loosened, a boyish grin on his face as he inhaled the familiar sense of home. Ifeoma entered, her heels clicking on the tiled floor. She wore a silk blouse and tailored trousers, her makeup flawless despite the village's humidity. She surveyed the spread with a raised eyebrow. "This is a lot," she said, sliding into her seat. Mama Funk wheeled herself to the table, her hands deftly maneuvering the chair. "It's tradition," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "We eat together to honor family." Ifeoma's smile was tight. She scooped a small portion of egusi onto her plate, eyeing it warily. "It smells strong," she said, poking at the stew with her spoon. "Is this hygienic? I mean, with all the open-air cooking and flies." The room fell silent. Adewale froze, his spoon halfway to his mouth. Mama Funk's hand stilled on her lap, but her expression remained serene. "My hands are clean, Ifeoma," she said quietly. "And so is my kitchen." Adewale laughed nervously, trying to diffuse the tension. "Ifeoma's just used to city food, Mama. You know, fancy restaurants, packaged spices. She'll get used to this." Ifeoma's eyes flashed. "I'm not saying it's bad, Adewale. I'm just concerned. Health standards, you know. She pushed her plate away, untouched. I'll stick to the plantain for now. The camera lingered on Mama Funk's face, her lips pressed into a thin line. Adewale's younger brother, Femi, a lanky 20-year-old with sharp eyes, watched from the corner of the room. He gripped his phone, his thumb hovering over the record button. The tension was palpable, and the screen cut to a close-up of Ifeoma's untouched plate, a silent jab at Mama Funk's hospitality. A week later, the sun beat down on Ibikunle's dusty streets. Adewale stood outside the compound, supervising workers unloading bags of cement. He had promised Mama Funk a wheelchair ramp to make the house more accessible, a project long overdue since her accident years ago. Mama Funk watched from the veranda, her eyes bright with hope. Ifeoma appeared, a glass of juice in hand, her sunglasses perched on her head. "Adewale, darling," she called, her voice syrupy. "Can we talk?" Adewale wiped sweat from his brow and followed her to the shade of a palm tree. The camera followed, capturing their conversation. "What's this about a ramp?" Ifeoma asked, her tone casual but pointed. "It's going to ruin the aesthetic of the compound." Adewale frowned. "It's for Mama, Ifeoma. She needs it." Ifeoma stepped closer, her hand resting on his arm. "I get it, darling, but think about our image. We're the talk of the village, city couple, successful engineer. A ramp screams, charity case." She gestured toward the compound's entrance. "What we need is a proper security gate. Maybe a garden. Something to show we've arrived." Adewale hesitated, his eyes darting toward Mama Funk, who was out of earshot but watching intently. "I promised her," he said weakly. "Promises can wait," Ifeoma purred, her voice low. "Let's invest in us first. Mama will understand." Mama Funk, her hands tightening on her wheelchair. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, unnoticed by the couple. Femi, leaning against the wall, recorded the exchange, his jaw clenched. Weeks later, the Adewale compound was transformed into a spectacle. Ifeoma had orchestrated a lavish party, the courtyard strung with fairy lights and tables laden with imported wines and canapes. Her city friends, decked in designer outfits, mingled with Ibikunle's elite, their laughter loud and artificial. The village locals, invited as a gesture, stood awkwardly on the fringes, their Ankara attire starkly different from the urban glamour. Ifeoma, radiant in a gold gown, held court, her laughter ringing out. Adewale stood by her side, beaming with pride. Mama Funk, dressed in a simple but elegant blue wrapper, sat in her wheelchair near the edge of the gathering, her hands folded neatly. Ifeoma raised a glass, her voice carrying over the crowd. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our new life in Ibikunle," she said, her smile dazzling. "And let me introduce someone special." She gestured toward Mama Funk, her tone shifting to something almost theatrical. "This is Mama Funk, Adewale's mother. Our permanent house guest." A ripple of laughter came from her city friends, but the locals shifted uncomfortably. Ifeoma continued, her voice dripping with false warmth. "Mama's so traditional, isn't she? Those wrappers are just so authentic." She paused, her eyes glinting. "Though I keep telling her, we could modernize her wardrobe a bit." The crowd fell silent. Mama Funk's face remained composed, but her eyes burned with quiet dignity. Adewale's smile faltered, but he said nothing. Femi, standing nearby, recorded the moment, his hands shaking with anger. The clip of Ifeoma's speech, uploaded to YouTube that night, exploded online, with comments flooding in, "Who does she think she is? Mama Funk deserves better." The morning after the party, the compound was quiet, the remnants of the night's revelry scattered across the courtyard. Mama Funk wheeled herself through the house, her movements slow but deliberate. She paused outside a heavy wooden door next to her bedroom, the room where her late husband, Adewale's father, had kept his treasures, old photographs, family heirlooms, and his prized collection of books. Ifeoma emerged from the hallway, her face set in a scowl. "Mama Funk," she said sharply, "that room is off limits." Mama Funk turned, her expression calm but probing. "This was my husband's study," she said softly. "It's a part of this family." Ifeoma crossed her arms. "It's my private study now. I need a space for my work, my designs, my calls. You understand, Don't you?" Her tone was patronizing, as if speaking to a child. Mama Funk's hands tightened on her wheelchair armrests, her knuckles whitening. "I understand," she said, her voice steady but laced with something unspoken. Adewale appeared, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" he asked, glancing between them. "Nothing, darling," Ifeoma said quickly, her smile returning. "Just setting some boundaries. This house is ours now, after all." Mama Funk's gaze lingered on the door, her eyes distant. Femi, watching from the shadows, recorded the exchange, his phone hidden in his palm. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting Ibikunle in a warm orange glow. The Adewale compound, still recovering from Ifeoma's lavish party, was quiet except for the soft creak of Mama Funk's wheelchair as she maneuvered through the courtyard. Inside the house, Femi, Adewale's younger brother, sat in his cramped bedroom, his eyes fixed on his phone. The 20-year-old university student, lanky and sharp-eyed, had always been the quiet observer in the family, but now he was something more, a silent guardian. Femi replayed the video he'd recorded at the party, Ifeoma's condescending introduction of Mama Funk, her mocking tone as she called her a permanent house guest. His jaw tightened as he watched the clip, the comment section already exploding with outrage from viewers across Nigeria and beyond. "This woman is evil," one comment read. "Mama Funk deserves respect," wrote another. Femi's thumb hovered over the upload button for a new video, a compilation of Ifeoma's subtle cruelties, her jab at Mama's cooking, her dismissal of the wheelchair ramp, her claim on the forbidden room. In the kitchen, Ifeoma's voice carried through the open window. "Adewale, we need to talk about your mother," she said, her tone sharp. "She's slowing us down. This house needs to reflect us, not her village ways." Femi's grip on his phone tightened. He hit record, angling the device to catch their conversation through the window. Adewale's response was hesitant. "She's my mother, Ifeoma. This is her home." "Is it?" Ifeoma snapped. "Or is it ours? I'm your wife, Adewale. I should come first." Mama Funk, unnoticed in the courtyard, paused her wheelchair, her hands trembling. She overheard every word but said nothing, her face a mask of resilience. Femi zoomed in on her expression, capturing the quiet pain in her eyes. The camera lingered as he whispered to himself, "I'll protect you, Mama." The next morning, the Adewale household buzzed with tension. Ifeoma sat at the dining table, her laptop open, scrolling through property listings in Lagos. Adewale entered, his engineering blueprints tucked under his arm, his face weary from sleepless nights. Mama Funk was in the living room, knitting a colorful scarf, her wheelchair positioned to catch the morning light. Ifeoma glanced up, her eyes calculating. "Adewale, darling," she said, closing her laptop with a deliberate click. "We've never really talked about your father's will." Adewale froze, his blueprints slipping slightly. "What about it?" he asked, his voice cautious. Ifeoma leaned forward, her manicured nails tapping the table. "You said he left everything to you and Femi, but what exactly? Land, money, properties. I'm your wife now. I deserve to know." Adewale shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting toward Mama Funk, who continued knitting, seemingly oblivious. "It's complicated," he said. "Papa was private about his affairs. He left us the house, some savings. That's all I know." Ifeoma's smile was tight. "That's all? A man like your father, who built this compound, had nothing else? No investments?" Her tone was probing, almost accusatory. Adewale's shoulders sagged, a flicker of guilt in his eyes. "He was a simple man, Ifeoma. He didn't talk much about money." Mama Funk's knitting needles paused, but she said nothing. Femi, lurking in the hallway with his phone, recorded the exchange, his heart pounding. He knew his father had been more than a simple man, a visionary who spoke of legacy, not wealth. Ifeoma's question stirred something in him, a suspicion that she was digging for more than she let on. That night, Ifeoma made a call in the forbidden room, her voice low. "Obi, it's me," she whispered. "I need you to look into something. The old man's will. There's more to it, I'm sure." The camera, hidden by Femi outside the door, caught her words, her face illuminated by the glow of her phone. The compound was still as dusk settled over Ibikunle, the air thick with the scent of rain. Mama Funk wheeled herself to a corner of the living room, where an old wooden trunk sat, covered in dust. Her hands, steady despite years of hardship, lifted the lid. Inside were relics of her late husband's life, faded photographs, a worn Bible, and a leather-bound diary. Her fingers lingered on the diary, its pages yellowed but intact. She opened it, her eyes scanning the familiar handwriting. "My heart is with Funk," one entry read. "She is the strength of this family, the keeper of our future." Another passage, underlined in bold ink, caught her attention. "My greatest asset is not money, but my family's future, protected by the land itself." Mama Funk's lips curved into a wistful smile, but her eyes were heavy with memory. She read late into the night, unaware that Femi, unable to sleep, watched from the doorway. His phone was in hand, recording her quiet moment of reflection. "What are you hiding, Mama?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. The next morning, Ifeoma noticed the open trunk. "What's this?" she asked sharply, striding over. Mama Funk, already back at her knitting, looked up calmly. "Just old things," she said. "Memories." Ifeoma's eyes narrowed. "Memories don't pay bills," she said, her voice cold. She reached for the diary, but Mama Funk's hand shot out, swift and firm, closing the trunk. "These are private," Mama Funk said, her tone unyielding. Ifeoma stepped back, startled by the older woman's resolve. "Fine," she said, but her eyes lingered on the trunk, suspicion burning. Femi, hidden behind a curtain, captured the tense standoff, his footage grainy but powerful. A week later, the postman arrived at the Adewale compound, a rare event in Ibikunle. He handed Ifeoma a sealed envelope addressed to Mama Funk, its letterhead bearing the logo of a prestigious law firm in Lagos. Ifeoma's eyes gleamed with curiosity as she turned the envelope over, noting its weight. "Who's this from?" she muttered, holding it to the light. In the living room, Mama Funk was teaching a group of village children how to weave baskets, her laughter soft but genuine. Ifeoma approached, the envelope in hand. "Mama Funk, this came for you," she said, her tone overly sweet. "Looks important." Mama Funk took the envelope, her expression unreadable. "Thank you," she said, tucking it into her wrapper. "I'll read it later." Ifeoma's smile faltered. "It's from a law firm. Shouldn't we open it together? As a family?" Mama Funk's eyes met hers, calm but piercing. "Some things are private, Ifeoma," she said. "Even in a family." Frustrated, Ifeoma retreated to the forbidden room and called Obi, her private investigator. "There's a letter," she hissed. "From a law firm. I couldn't read it. Some legal jargon in Yoruba. Find out what it says." Femi, who had followed her quietly, recorded the call through a crack in the door. His heart raced as he realized Ifeoma was closing in on something big. That night, he slipped into Mama Funk's room and found the envelope hidden under her pillow. He didn't open it but filmed its pristine seal, his hands trembling. Obi, a wiry man with a knack for uncovering secrets, sat in a dimly lit office in Lagos, poring over documents. Ifeoma's call had set him on a mission, and his network of contacts had delivered. The legal letter, he discovered, was written in Yoruba to ensure privacy, but a translator had cracked its contents. Obi's eyes widened as he read the report. The letter wasn't about money or a small inheritance. It was about a vast piece of land in the heart of Lagos' new development zone, a plot worth millions of naira. Obi leaned back, whistling softly. "This is big," he muttered. He called Ifeoma, his voice low. "You were right to suspect something. The letter's about land, prime real estate. But I can't tell who owns it yet. The deed's locked in a bank vault." Ifeoma, pacing in the forbidden room, gripped her phone. "Find that deed," she said. "I don't care what it takes." Meanwhile, in Ibikunle, Femi overheard Ifeoma's call while hiding in the hallway, his phone capturing every word. He raced to Mama Funk, who was in the courtyard, tending to her small herb garden. "Mama," he whispered, "Ifeoma's digging into Papa's will. She's hired someone." Mama Funk's hands paused over a basil plant, her face serene but her eyes sharp. "Let her dig," she said softly. "The truth will find its way." Femi's footage of Ifeoma's call went viral that night, titled "The Greedy Wife's Plan." Comments poured in. "She's after Mama's legacy. Protect Mama Funk's." Mama Funk's calm face, a stark contrast to Ifeoma's scheming. The midday sun blazed over Ibikunle, casting sharp shadows across the Adewale compound. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Ifeoma paced the living room, her heels clicking furiously against the tiled floor. In her hand was a crumpled printout from Obi, her private investigator, detailing the vast Lagos land worth millions. Her face was a storm of emotions: shock, greed, and barely concealed rage. Adewale sat at the dining table, his engineering blueprints forgotten, his brow furrowed with unease. Mama Funk, in her wheelchair by the window, gazed at the mango tree outside, her expression serene but her hands tightly clasped. Ifeoma spun to face Adewale, waving the printout. "You lied to me," she snapped, her voice cutting through the room like a whip. "You said your father left nothing but this house and some savings. But this—" She slapped the paper onto the table. "A multimillion naira plot of land in Lagos? And you claim you know nothing about it?" Adewale's eyes widened as he scanned the document. "Ifeoma, I swear I didn't know," he said, his voice strained. "Papa was secretive. He never told us about any land." Ifeoma laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Don't play innocent, Adewale. You're his son. You must know something." She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "Who owns it? You? Femi? Or—" Her gaze flicked to Mama Funk, who remained silent, her face unreadable. Adewale ran a hand over his face, guilt flickering in his eyes. "I don't know, Ifeoma. Papa always said the family's future was secure, but he never explained. I thought it was just talk." Mama Funk's knitting needles, resting in her lap, glinted in the sunlight. She said nothing, but her calm demeanor only fueled Ifeoma's paranoia. Femi, hidden in the hallway with his phone, recorded every word, his heart pounding. The camera captured Ifeoma's fury and Adewale's confusion, zooming in on Mama Funk's serene face, a quiet storm brewing beneath. The compound was shrouded in darkness, save for the flicker of a lantern in Mama Funk's room. Femi knocked softly, his phone tucked in his pocket, still warm from recording. "Mama," he whispered, stepping inside. "We need to talk." Mama Funk looked up from her Bible, her eyes sharp despite the late hour. "What is it, my son?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Femi knelt beside her wheelchair, his voice low. "Ifeoma knows about the land. She's hired someone to dig into Papa's will. I heard her. She's getting close." Mama Funk's lips curved into a faint smile, but her eyes held a glint of resolve. "Let her dig," she said. "The truth will protect itself." She reached down to her wheelchair, her fingers deftly finding a hidden compartment beneath the armrest. With a soft click, it opened, revealing a small, rusted key. Femi's breath caught as she held it up, the lantern light glinting off its surface. "What's that?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "A key to your father's safe deposit box," Mama Funk said. "He entrusted it to me before he passed. It holds the answers Ifeoma seeks." Femi's eyes widened. "Why didn't you tell us, Mama?" Mama Funk's gaze softened. "Your father wanted our family's legacy protected, not fought over. I was waiting for the right time." She closed her hand around the key, her voice firm. "Help me, Femi. We go to the bank tomorrow." Femi nodded, his phone capturing the moment, the key, Mama Funk's determined face, the weight of a secret about to be unveiled. The following morning, Ibikunle's dusty roads were alive with the hum of motorbikes and the chatter of market vendors. Femi pushed Mama Funk's wheelchair toward a waiting taxi, his phone discreetly recording as villagers greeted them with warm smiles. "Mama Funk, you look strong today," called an elderly woman selling yams. Mama Funk waved, her smile genuine but her mind clearly elsewhere. The taxi ride to the bank in Lagos was tense. Femi sat beside Mama Funk, the key now tucked in her wrapper. "Are you sure about this, Mama?" he asked, glancing out the window at the city's towering buildings. "What if Ifeoma finds out?" Mama Funk's eyes were fixed on the horizon. "She will find out," she said calmly. "But not in the way she expects." At the bank, a grand building with marble floors and air-conditioned chill, the manager, Mr. Adewale, greeted them warmly. "Mama Funk," he said, his smile broad, "it's been years." He led them to a private room, where a safe deposit box waited. Femi's phone, hidden in his shirt pocket, recorded the exchange, capturing the manager's knowing glance at Mama Funk. Mr. Adewale handed Mama Funk a sealed envelope from the box. "Your husband was a wise man," he said. "He knew who to trust." Mama Funk nodded, her fingers tracing the envelope's edge. Femi, her expression a mix of pride and resolve. Back in Ibikunle, the Adewale compound was quiet, the evening air heavy with the scent of approaching rain. Mama Funk sat in her room, the sealed envelope on her lap. Femi stood beside her, his phone ready but his hands trembling with anticipation. "Open it, Mama," he urged softly. Mama Funk broke the seal, revealing a single document, a faded parchment with elegant script. The deed to the Lagos land, its boundaries meticulously outlined, was worth millions. Femi leaned closer, his eyes scanning the page. At the bottom, in bold, was the owner's name, Funk Adewale. Femi gasped. "Mama, it's you. The land belongs to you." Mama Funk's eyes glistened, but her voice was steady. "Your father knew I would protect it," she said. "He built this family on love, not greed. This land is for our future, yours, Adewale's, and the generations to come." Femi's phone captured the deed, the camera lingering on the name Funk Adewale. Outside, Ifeoma's laughter echoed from the forbidden room, oblivious to the revelation unfolding. Femi uploaded the footage that night, titled "The Deed's True Owner," and it spread like wildfire online. Comments flooded in, "Mama Funk is a queen." "Ifeoma's in for a shock." The next morning, Ifeoma stormed into the living room, her face a mask of fury. In her hand was a copy of the deed, obtained by Obi through his contacts. She had stayed up all night, her paranoia confirmed. Adewale sat on the couch, his face pale, while Mama Funk wheeled herself to the center of the room, her posture regal despite her simple wrapper. "You knew!" Ifeoma shouted, waving the deed at Mama Funk. "You knew all along about the land. Millions of naira, and you sat there, pretending to be some humble village woman." Her voice cracked with rage. "You've been playing us, haven't you?" Mama Funk met her gaze, unflinching. "I played no one, Ifeoma," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "The land is my husband's legacy, entrusted to me. I protected it as he asked." Ifeoma laughed, a harsh, desperate sound. "Protected it? You're hoarding it. Adewale, tell her to sell it. We could live like kings in Lagos." Adewale stood, his hands clenched. "Enough, Ifeoma," he said, his voice low. "This isn't about us. It's about family." Ifeoma spun to him, her eyes blazing. "Family? She's manipulated you. She's been sitting on a fortune while we waste away in this village." Mama Funk's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and clear. "This village is my home. This family is my wealth. You, Ifeoma, see only money." She leaned forward, her eyes piercing. "You will never understand what it means to protect a legacy." Femi, recording from the hallway, captured the confrontation, his footage raw and electrifying. The clip, uploaded as "The Day She Found Out," went viral, with millions of views and comments cheering Mama Funk's strength. The camera zoomed in on Ifeoma's stunned face, then Mama Funk's unwavering resolve. The Adewale compound was a cauldron of tension, the air heavy with the aftermath of Ifeoma's outburst. The living room, bathed in the golden light of late afternoon, felt like a battlefield. Mama Funk sat in her wheelchair, her wrapper neatly folded, her posture radiating a quiet authority that silenced the room. Ifeoma stood before her, still clutching the copy of the deed, her face a mask of fury and disbelief. Adewale, caught between his wife and mother, looked like a man unraveling, his hands clenched at his sides. Femi, hidden in the hallway, recorded every moment, his phone capturing the raw emotion of the scene. Mama Funk's voice broke the silence, steady and resonant, like a drum calling the village to attention. "Ifeoma," she began, her eyes locking onto her daughter-in-law's, "you think this land is about money. You see only what glitters. But my husband, Adewale, saw further. He knew greed could tear this family apart." Ifeoma scoffed, tossing her hair. "Spare me the lecture, Mama. You've been sitting on millions, pretending to be humble. You're no saint." Mama Funk's gaze didn't waver. I never claimed to be. But I am the keeper of this family's legacy." She leaned forward, her voice rising with a power that filled the room. "Your father," she said, addressing Adewale and Femi, "did not want the land sold for profit. He knew the only person who would protect it, who would ensure it served our family's future, was me. His will named me the owner, not because I sought wealth, but because I understood love." Adewale's eyes widened, guilt flickering across his face. "Mama, why didn't you tell us?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Mama Funk's expression softened, but her resolve remained. "I was waiting, my son. Waiting to see if you would honor your father's values or be swayed by her." She glanced at Ifeoma, who flinched under the weight of her words. "The deed can only be transferred when I believe our family's future is secure. And you, Ifeoma, have shown me it is not." Ifeoma's hands trembled, her voice shrill. "This is manipulation. Adewale, are you hearing this? She's controlling everything." Femi's footage captured the moment. Mama Funk's unwavering strength, Ifeoma's unraveling composure, Adewale's torn expression. The clip, uploaded as "The Matriarch Speaks," exploded online, with viewers praising Mama Funk's wisdom and condemning Ifeoma's greed. The next morning, the compound was eerily quiet, the usual chatter of neighbors replaced by a heavy silence. Mama Funk sat on the veranda, her wheelchair positioned to overlook the village. Her hands rested on a small wooden box, the one containing her husband's diary, its pages a testament to his vision. Ifeoma emerged from the house, her designer suitcase in hand, her face set in defiance. Adewale followed, his shoulders slumped, while Femi lingered nearby, his phone ready. Mama Funk spoke first, her voice calm but unyielding. "Ifeoma, you came into this family with disdain for its heart. You mocked my home, my food, my place. But this house, this land, it's mine. And I decide who stays." Ifeoma laughed, a harsh, desperate sound. "You think you can scare me away? I'm Adewale's wife. This is my home too." Mama Funk's eyes narrowed, her voice cutting like a blade. "Not if you cannot respect its foundation. I give you a choice. Treat me as the matriarch of this family, with the respect I deserve, or leave. The house, the land, everything you crave, is in my name." Adewale stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Mama, please. She's my wife. Can't we find a way?" Mama Funk's gaze softened as she looked at her son. "Adewale, a wife builds with you, not against you. She has torn us apart. Choose wisely, my son." Ifeoma's eyes flashed with panic. "Adewale, tell her she's wrong. Tell her we're staying." Adewale's conflicted face, then panned to Mama Funk's resolute expression. The footage, uploaded as "The Ultimatum," went viral, with comments flooding in, "Mama Funk is unstoppable. Ifeoma's done for." The sun set over Ibikunle, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The Adewale compound was a gathering place once more, with villagers crowding the courtyard, drawn by whispers of the family's drama. Mama Funk sat at the center, her wheelchair a throne of quiet authority. Ifeoma stood by the gate, her suitcase at her feet, her face a mix of defiance and fear. Adewale stood between them, his eyes darting from his mother to his wife, the weight of the moment crushing him. Femi, recording from the sidelines, captured the villagers' murmurs, their support for Mama Funk palpable. "Adewale," Mama Funk said, her voice carrying over the crowd, "you are my son, and I love you. But love does not excuse weakness. Your wife has disrespected our home, our family. What do you choose?" Adewale's hands shook as he looked at Ifeoma. "I thought you loved me," he said, his voice breaking. "But all you've done is tear us apart. You humiliated my mother, schemed for her land. I can't do this anymore." Ifeoma's face crumpled. "Adewale, no. We can still have everything. Lagos, the money, the life we dreamed of." Adewale shook his head, tears in his eyes. "I dreamed of a family, Ifeoma. Not this." He turned to Mama Funk, his voice steadying. "I'm sorry, Mama. I should have stood by you sooner. I choose you. I choose our family." The crowd erupted in cheers, women ululating, men clapping Adewale on the back. Ifeoma's shoulders slumped, her defeat absolute. Femi's footage captured the moment, Adewale's tearful resolve, Mama Funk's proud nod, Ifeoma's stunned silence. Uploaded as Adewale's Redemption, the video amassed millions of views, with comments like, "Finally, he sees the truth." The internet was ablaze with the Adewale family's saga. Femi's videos, the day she found out, the deed's name, the matriarch speaks, the ultimatum, and now Adewale's Redemption had become a global phenomenon. Viewers from Lagos to London posted reactions, hashtags like hashtag MamaFunk and hashtag Ifeoma's downfall trending worldwide. In Ibikunle, the compound buzzed with visitors, some bringing gifts of yams and fabric to honor Mama Funk's strength. Inside, Mama Funk sat with Femi, watching his latest upload on his phone. "You've done well, my son," she said, her voice warm. "You showed the world our truth." Femi grinned, his eyes bright. "It's not just our truth, Mama. It's everyone's. People see you and remember their own mothers, their own fights." Adewale entered, his face lighter than it had been in months. "Mama, I've started the plans for your ramp," he said, holding up a blueprint. "It'll be ready in a week." Mama Funk's smile was radiant. "Thank you, Adewale. But this victory is not just mine. It's ours." She gestured to the crowd outside, their voices a chorus of support. Femi's final upload, The Matriarch's Revenge, showed clips of Mama Funk's journey, her quiet endurance, her revelation, her ultimatum. The video ended with a montage of global reactions, a Nigerian student praising Mama Funk's wisdom, a Ghanaian mother calling her an inspiration, a British viewer vowing to honor their elders. A month later, the Adewale compound was transformed. A sturdy wheelchair ramp, built by Adewale's own hands, stretched from the veranda to the courtyard, its polished wood gleaming in the sun. Villagers gathered for a celebration, the air filled with the beat of drums and the scent of jollof rice. Mama Funk, in a vibrant new Ankara dress, glided down the ramp with ease, her smile radiant. Adewale and Femi stood by her side, their faces glowing with pride. Ifeoma was gone, her suitcase and city ambitions vanished from Ibikunle. Rumors swirled that she'd returned to Lagos, humbled and alone. The land, still in Mama Funk's name, was now the foundation for a community project, a school and clinic, funded by its future lease, ensuring Ibikunle's prosperity. As the celebration unfolded, Mama Funk addressed the crowd, her voice strong. "This land is not just ours," she said. "It's for every child who dreams, every mother who fights. My husband's legacy lives in us all." Now held by a local filmmaker inspired by Femi, capture the moment, Mama Funk's triumphant glide, the crowd's cheers, the family united. Uploaded as The New Beginning, the video closed the series with millions of views, comments calling Mama Funk a global icon. The final shot lingered on her smile, the ramp a symbol of her victory, as the end.